in, that means you're feeling the vibe. The bell rung, you already been subscribed. Right now, the queen, she on live. Please pull over the whip, no phoning when you drive. Dope Soul, sporting with the talk. First lady from New York, Brooklyn. All my people, you rocking with the chat. Hit that. That like button would tell me where you at. You know, step from the MBK. Born and raised up MBK. Hey, real lady, where she holding it down. No matter way how you feel, she gon' greet you with a smile.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Oh, sister, it's time you
That's
turn. Dope Soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Dope Soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Dope Soul.
What?
Dope Soul.
What?
Your soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
In this show, I don't know, pop-up show, special edition, whatever you want to call it. Just thought I would come on and me and Geoff, and hopefully Ajay will join us and talk about the Cameron Payne signing and what does that mean, if anything, to Miles McBride. You know, is he on the move for, a backup center? We shall see. We'll talk about Kolek and how he's looked in the summer league. So basically, we're talking about the point guard position today. There was an article I read. Who was it by? Empire Sports Media put out an article. Could the Knicks also be looking at Russell Westbrook? Look, we already got a minutes issue over here. So I'm not so sure about that. Anyway, we're going to have a good time. You guys know my condition. I'm in a rural town in Georgia. I'm on a hot spot. I'm hoping my video holds up. I'm hoping my audio holds up. But if not, Geoff and Ajay will hold me down. Salute to everybody in the chat. Let me bring in Geoff. Hey, Geoff, how you doing?
Doing great. Salute to you. Salute to the chat. Let's get this rocking and rolling. Ready to go.
Yeah. Listen, let's just get right into it. What did you make of the Knicks signing of veteran point guard Cameron Payne, recently of the Philadelphia 76ers?
First of all, I think it's a really good, quiet, under the radar move. It's a veteran minimum signing. I think that here's a guy who's going to have a Shake Milton-like role. I don't think it's going to affect Deuce McBride. I think that there's a definite pecking order. I don't think that there's a lot of rotational minutes to be had to begin with. And hey, Ajay, how you doing, brother?
All right, how are you? How are you guys?
Good. So I like it because he's a good 3-point shooter. He can play the point guard. You know, at some point in the season there are going to be injuries. I also think if you wanted to put him in an Alec Burks-like role, he could fill in that spot too. So I kind of think as far as a 10th, 11th guy on a team that runs a 9-man rotation, he's a really good fit. And not only that, but at a $3 million salary, if you want to make a trade and aggregate some salary later on down the line, that's a player that you could put in to a trade at maybe instead of a Deuce McBride, and able to secure that spot for him. Because I really think the organization likes Deuce. It's clear that Coach Tibbs trusts him. I am on the side of the thought process that he's not a true point guard. I think he's point guard sized and he's more of a wing. But push comes to shove when you have injuries and you have other ball handlers with guys like Bridges, guys like Julius, guys like DiVincenzo, who you're putting out there with them. He can be your nominal point guard. And he's not a playmaker like Jalen is, obviously, but when he's been pressed into starting duty, I think he's done a good job, and he's been reliable. He's one of those guys that just stays ready. I don't think there's a lot of minutes for him right off the bat, anyway. But I don't think that this signing means that Deuce is on the block by any stretch of the imagination.
Okay. All right. Ajay, salute to you. What do you make of the signing of veteran point guard Cameron Payne?
Salute to you, Queen and Jeff, and salute to the chat. Salute to Knicks Nation. I did not realize we were already live, so I almost started talking in my behind the scene mode. So I don't know. I actually went to YouTube to see what's to look at the chat. But salute to everybody. Um Campaign, what do I make of that? Right? I think it's a good it's a good sign. It's a good signing. Especially I think he gets like $3.1 million. Like it's I mean in today's NBA that's like that's is that veteran minimum? What's vet
Yeah,
Yeah,
minimum?
that's
it's
it's a
veteran
veteran.
minimum for
Yeah,
his
okay. So
experience,
and
years of
I
experience.
and I think it's a good. Honestly, I think he would have been worth more than veteran minimum. So I'm surprised we got him for that kind of money because he's a player who could contribute in certain space, like in certain time, depending. And I think, like Jeff mentioned, somebody goes down, you have a decent veteran who could come in and give you a few very productive minutes.
Mhm.
So I don't think I think it's a good signing to bring Cameron Payne in. And as I say on the chat, I really did not like that guy when he was on the other team, and when we played him when he was in Phoenix. Like we played him twice, and I cringed. Like I really disliked him. But listen, he's a Nick now, so hopefully he could, he could make other teams fans dislike him the way I disliked him when he was playing against the Knicks.
Yeah. I mean, we'll talk a little later about what that means, if anything, to Miles McBride rotation minutes or just being on the team at all. But I'll just piggyback off of what the two of you have said already. I like the signing as well. I always wanted the Knicks to have a veteran point guard, whether he's backing up Brunson, whether he's just situational, um, and we're just using him in a break glass emergency mode. I like the idea of I like the idea of that because think about it. If there's any injuries on the wing, McBride, who I don't think is going to get a lot of minutes anyway, and I could be wrong, he would be in for you know he'll be the first guard up, and not much behind him, right? If Devo goes into that starting lineup, McBride is in for, and then there's not much, behind him. And I think when you're trying to win a championship, as much as possible, you want to have some contingency plans. Right now, behind our rotation players, and well, consider Sims the rotation player at this point. All of our situational guys are rookies. Daddy um, um, Kolek, and we'll talk about him. I don't know if it'll be top end, even if he's not a rookie. He's a young guy. Right now, all of our situational guys, they're just one injury away from being in the rotation. So having a guy like Campaign who played for Philadelphia last year, he averaged 20 minutes for them. Wow. I didn't know it was that much. 9.3 points and 3.1 assists in 19.4 minutes. He hit 39% of his three-point attempts last season between the Bucks and the 76ers. He was with Milwaukee before he came to Philly. And he's a 36.9, basically a 37% three-point shooter for his career. He's entering his 10th season. He has 56 playoff games. And he filled in admirably for Chris Paul during the bubble season when he had that shoulder injury in the playoffs. There was one game he came in, I believe he scored like 29 points. Now he's gone through some rough times in the league. He was highly touted. He was actually a lottery pick, if I'm not mistaken, either right before or right after Booker. I believe right after Booker, and basically was out of the league for a little while before Monty Williams reached out to him in that bubble season, and he was able to revive his career. So a really good comeback story. But for the Knicks, I just like having a veteran, whether he's in the rotation or not, on the bench with playoff experience. Um, Tom Thibodeau said this in one of these seasons. I forget which one. You're going to need everybody by the end of the season. You're going to need everybody. And so I think he's a good piece to have. Now, in terms of what this means for Miles McBride, if anything, I'm really interested to see what you, Jeff, and Ajay has to say. There's been reports that not that the Knicks are looking to trade McBride, but if a trade came along for a backup center, having Cam Payne signed would make the decision easier. Again, not that they're looking to do it, but that it would make the decision easier. Now, there are some Knicks fans who feel like the signing of Cam Payne means the writing is on the wall. That I've heard someone say, oh, they have a deal done already. They just needed to get this piece um, done first. What, if anything, do you think this means for McBride as far as possibly being traded to shore up our backup center position, or if it impacts his rotation minutes if he remains on the team? Ajay, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Jeff, and then I'll check in with the chat in a little bit. Keep your comments coming. What you guys think?
Queen, I don't think we can determine that until we figure out what they're doing with Precious Achiuwa. Because you got to remember, they could go over the cap to sign Precious without too much penalties going on, right? So until they figure that out, I don't think they would trade Deuce right now for a backup center. If they do that, then that means they're not signing Precious Achiuwa. But we don't know that, and I don't know how valuable. So Deuce is more valuable to us, with his development, his talent, his I don't know what he contributed to the team last year. I think, and his salary more so than a backup center. Like right now, there's nobody unless it's a trade, but the money he makes is not going to help much with the trade because he makes so little money.
I don't think it would be a 1-for-1. Like, I don't think it would,
but what else do you add to that trade to make up for it? Basically what I'm saying, Deuce, I think to me means more to the team than just to throw in, like to make up another, $4 million, for a backup center. That's the way I see it. I don't know. I think they value his services more than that, the team. I mean, it says something that all the kids are gone, or what we call the kids, they all gone except for Deuce. And it was the right choice to keep him because he's shown more development than all the other guys, at least have shown while they were with the Knicks. I don't know what they do now, but while they were at the Knicks, Deuce McBride obviously, has made tremendous leaps from the time, from what he used to be. So I think he's more valuable to us than just to throw in a trade. And the little money he commands, I don't know if that's going to help a lot in bringing somebody of value at the backup center.
Do you think it would be a throw-in though? Like if the Knicks was able to put McBride in the trade with their protected first-round picks and some second-round pick, like you would consider McBride a throw-in?
Don't the money have to match? Like what good center you getting for Deuce's salary?
I think it depends on the other team.
Like I mean, let's take an example. Can we get Kessler for Deuce and some picks?
You can.
But
Kessler's only he's on a rookie scale contract.
Isn't he making like $9-10 million?
No.
It's like 3 million.
3 million?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I
guess it would work that way.
Yeah, and not that. I mean,
no, he's making. I'm sorry. What pick was he? How is he only making $3 million? I'll look.
I don't know what pick he was.
He's not making a lot. We're talking about Kessler. He's not making a lot of money. So even if the salaries do have to match, he's not making a lot of money. I don't think he's making $5 million. You could check.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Nick Richards. Nick Richards is making now,
5. He's
right,
making
5
5.
million. 5 million. Now, we've talked in the Knicks community about Nick Richards. I haven't seen anything anywhere about Charlotte being looking to move him. So he's making 5 million, and Deuce McBride is making 4.7 million this season.
I'd wait to see what they do with Precious. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that means anything. Like, I don't know if bringing campaign means anything
Okay.
in in terms of what they do with Deuce.
Okay. Geoff, what's your thoughts?
Well, one of the things that this front office has always tried to do is one of their big things is flexibility. And having a $3 million contract for a guy who's playable increases your flexibility. I think it's probable that we bring back Precious, but I also think that there could be a situation where you bring back Precious at maybe a little bit higher number on salary, maybe 8 million or so. I'm just using that as a figure, and then maybe you can stack those salaries, whether it be Precious and Cam or Precious and Deuce, and then you can get a player in the $11 million range instead of in the $3 million range. So, if you're talking about someone who's a center, you can probably, look at maybe a Larry Nance Jr. or someone like that. I know Fred Katz mentioned that name the other day. I don't know a whole lot about him, but and I don't even know that that's necessarily an upgrade or something that we would want to do. But it gives you the flexibility to pull off that type of deal if you wanted to in season. Like, let's say Robinson goes down with another injury and you need a reliable big or something like that. I just think it gives you that flexibility. I actually think that the Precious is probably going to come back, but for me, I kind of wanted a campaign kind of a player at the end of our bench anyway. I thought that was a weakness for our team last year, was to just have someone who can come in and play point guard, because campaign, when he was in Phoenix, had a 30% assist percentage. I think in back-to-back years when he was in Phoenix. So this is a guy who can legitimately play point guard. And run a team, and he's not a bad 3-point shooter. He's not locked down defensively, but I don't think he's a cone either. So he only got 19 minutes a game last year. He'll probably get less than that here. But again, he's a valuable piece to have, as Tim said. You never know when you're going to need him, and to have someone like that to be able to turn to, who can start in a pinch if you need him to, because he started probably 50 or 60 games in his career out of 400. That's not a ton of starts, but that means that he's capable. If you're going to throw him in there with a group that's really talented, I think you're going to be fine. And so it gives us more options and flexibility. And well, what if Deuce gets hurt? We haven't thought about that. But what if we need to bring someone in who's who just playing the backup point guard minutes? Well, now you have someone. If Deuce were to go down, he's been durable for sure, but if something happens, now you have someone who you can plug and play right away. And I think that's useful, especially on a low value contract like that. I think he's the perfect kind of player for that kind of a contract. And he'll be 30 years old in early August. So it's not like he's ancient by any stretch of the imagination. And again, I don't think he's here to replace Deuce. I just think he's another depth piece behind Deuce. Add another point guard to that room. Add someone with savvy. Add someone with skills that we didn't necessarily have as our backup one. Now you're increasing your versatility. You can do a lot of different things with your lineups if you need to. And when you're talking about playing in the playoffs, sometimes you need a player like that to just come in for a few minutes, who changes the pace, who can do something a little bit different than a team maybe is used to. Is not something, his game is a little bit different than anybody we really have. So again, I don't think he's going to play a lot of minutes, but I think he could be a useful piece for this team during the season, because it's a long season.
And
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
Kessler makes a little less than $3 million a year, and Deuce makes almost $5 million a year. So
Okay. We would have to add something. I'm not sure Utah is interested in trading Kessler to the Knicks. But one thing too, I think this was Jeff. It could have been you too, Ajay, that the Knicks do a good job in terms of maintaining flexibility. So what this does do is fine if there isn't a trade for a backup center that the Knicks value and feel would fit, campaign stays situational. But if something does come up that the Knicks like and they have to include McBride, they're not scrambling now trying to find a guard to play behind Brunson. They're covered either way. So I agree with you, and I'll bring uh, DJ Shuttle in because he had a good point too, that maybe the Knicks are already in talks for a center, and they had to do this move um, before that. So actually, let's just bring him in now. I'll let DJ Shuttle go, and then we'll get to the chat. I start some comments, some really good comments from the chat. So I want to keep them coming. I want to get to those.
Salute, sir.
Hey,
Salute.
what's up, Shuttle?
salute to the team. It's double salute to the chat. Like I mentioned in the comments. I think that is you never know. First and foremost, you have to stay ready, and I'll definitely would want to double down on Jeff's comments about this is when you bring in Achiuwa at a salary maybe a little higher than you need to pay him, just so you're two steps ahead in the chess move for a future move. The same way I feel like Deuce really didn't necessarily play to deserve the new contract last year, but his contract was so minimal, it would be of no value if you needed to trade him. Like, just financially, it just wasn't worth enough to be able to be useful in a trade. So, again, to Jeff's point, something like that could happen with Achiuwa. Again, something also could be on the table. It's like, all right, well, we're interested in Deuce in a trade for, a center that's out there, but the Knicks are like, all right, let's get ready and let's put Cam in the corner before we do a deal like that. Even if the deal doesn't happen before the season starts, it could be talks now that don't actually, manifest themselves until, the season starts, at the beginning of the season, right before training camp. Deals always get done to the last final hour. That's always something too. But yeah, like Jeff also said, I just felt like having veteran leadership at the point guard position was something that was paramount. And I was calling for Lowry to have our Nova 5 fingers of death, Nova team. But Cam is younger. He's more efficient from deep. And I don't know if y'all got short-term memory or not, but he was lighting it up in the playoffs against these New York Knicks. So act like you were watching those playoff games. So that says to me, listen, we got a guy that played in the playoffs. He wasn't scared in the playoffs. He handled the rock in the playoffs. He shot well. And that's the type of tough as nails player, to your point, Steph, at the bottom of the bench that we need, even if he's 11, if he's 12, whether he's the backup point guard or not, who knows? Because if Deuce doesn't go, there's a chance that Deuce is the backup shooting guard. Actually, the third shooting guard, and Cam could be the backup point guard. Like that's a possible reality to me. I
Yeah.
love Deuce, but I don't get over attached to players. So yeah, you did good before, but it's a new year, and we try to do new things.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, I think what could help Deuce is he's not a backup point guard. And I just going by last season, he can be totally different coming into training camp. And obviously my opinion would change. But for what I've seen last season, I think he needs a little more time running the show. The Knicks just weren't as crisp, when he was running the show. And I don't think that's all his, fault as well. Injuries, you know, who are you creating shots for? You know what I mean? So I think that also has something to do with it. But
Part of it is his handle is just like it's not top tier NBA ball handle.
right.
He has the speed. It looks like sometimes when you grow up, you can just get by on sheer athleticism. You're
Right.
stronger, you jump higher, you run faster. And it's not that you actually have the skill of ball handling. Cam actually has ball handling skill to get past people, can get into the paint and make some of those quickly type floater shots in the paint. Like, you guys got to watch the tape if you haven't seen it. If you're in the chat and you want to just say this is Deuce's team still in that spot, like, and Cam, I was chatting with Tony about it. Cam is also a player that's been through the adversity, coming in as a lottery pick, getting cut, going overseas, coming back. So, he's playing with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, something to prove. And, like, I figured out what I need to do to be in this league and stay in this league and get busy. And, I think I put it this way. If he was the backup starting point guard or backup point guard, I would not be upset at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what Deuce will have going for him is that in that second unit, Devo is in that second unit. Hart is in that second unit. Um, it's not just him having to generate, offense for others. He'll be in that back. He'll be in the second unit with somebody, and there'll also be a starter that'll probably run with that second unit, whether that's Bridges, whether that's OG. There's times we've even seen Randall run with the second unit, so it wouldn't be a lot of pressure on him to create. That being said, I can also see. I think when it comes to Thibodeau, it's about the team. It's about the team. He's going to run those stats and see which team works best with each other. And so we can't just unilaterally say Cam is situational 100%. You know, we don't know. I want to get to the chat, but the question I have for you guys is: Are you, now that campaign is here? Would you be willing to trade Deuce for a quality backup center, or do you feel like let's just rock with Mitchell Robinson and Sims as our center core, and and keep McBride in the fold because better things are coming. But let me get to you guys can marinate on that while I get to the chat. Salute to you, Queen, Wonder Woman, Angel, Torres, Keith Turner, Kerry Cox, Sherwin. All right. Hey, where are all my okay, here we go. Can't have that kind of production just sitting on the bench. I think it means something very interesting. Johnny Davis in reference to campaign
Uh,
being signed.
Can I say something about that?
Sure.
Last year in the playoff, that comment, I kind of felt that way. I felt like he didn't get enough minutes. Like, he'd come in and ball out, and then Coach Nurse would he would disappear off onto the bench. I don't know. There's got to be something. I don't know if it's something with his game. Maybe I don't know if his defense is not to Coach Nurse's liking. But even when he played, even in that series against us, I really felt his production was enough that he should have gotten more minutes. I didn't know what that was about. So it was kind of weird that they had him sitting on the bench when they needed. I mean, those games were so close, and they needed every point they could get, but they just didn't give him playing time. So I don't know what that was about.
Yeah. Okay. All right, DJ Shuttle. I definitely would not be surprised if talks for a center included the request for Deuce. Yep, you spoke about that. Ivory 10, salute Knicks fam. We need a center and a pretty damn good one. Knicks are going for it all. No? Question mark. I think the Knicks are going for it all. And the Knicks have been pretty good with contingency plans. And I think we need a contingency plan at center. And we talked about this before. Mitchell Robinson could play 78 games this season, right? We've seen Anthony Davis do it last season. We've seen Paul George do it last season after years and years of being injured. The issue is banking on it and just planning for the worst. I think that's really what it comes down to. Mets, Knicks fans, let's go. We need this backup five or starter. Mitch can't be trusted. If we trade Deuce, it better be for a good player. And salute to you, my friends. Salute, Met Knicks fan. Let's go. All right. Sherwin. Kessler's contract makes him more valuable, even for teams targeting him as a backup center. A $2.965 million salary next season with a $4.878 million club option in 2025 makes him a bargain. So yeah, I mean, let's get more specific. Before I read the comments I talked about, would you be willing to put Deuce McBride in a trade for a backup center? Let's get more specific. If we had an opportunity to get Kessler, would you feel comfortable trading Deuce, or do you feel like his upside is just such that you would prefer to just keep him and forego Kessler?
Well, I think the fact of the matter is if they can get Kessler, they need to get Kessler because what that does is that allows you to be able to trade Mitchell Robinson. And I know as a person who loves Mitch, that sounds weird coming out of my mouth, but that's a $13 million contract. So you can do a little bit more. You can get a little bit more of a player. And I think that if you do get Kessler, you're definitely grooming him to be the five of the future, just because he does almost everything that Mitch does at a third of the price. I mean, from in a salary cap league, when your dollars are tight, you're looking for ways to improve the team, and you're looking to make sure everybody gets paid, that would be an excellent way to keep the ball moving forward without really losing anything from a talent point of view, talent perspective, which I think is a difficult dance to perform. I mean, when you're walking a tightrope because you need to stay flexible. You need to have the salary. You need to stay under that second apron as long as you can, but you need to keep your core guys together. And so if you're able to get a guy like Kessler, first of all, for this season, Kessler and Robinson shores up your five spot. If Robinson does get hurt again, Kessler can play the majority of the minutes. You're not hurting there. I don't personally think Kessler is that available. I would be really surprised if Danny Ainge lets a young player who's that talented go. I know they kind of want to tank for that kid Flag out of Duke, but I think they can probably do that and find a way to keep Kessler. And I guess it depends on if they decide to keep Lauri Markkanen or not. So a lot of questions over in the Jazz point of view that need to be answered before we kind of figure that out. But that speaks to Shuttle's point where we can be patient. Like, we don't have to have all of this figured out tomorrow. And
Right.
I think that there's a real world where the answer at the 5 spot for this year is just bringing Precious back, because we know that if Mitch does get hurt, we've seen Precious play 40, 45, 48 minutes. We've seen him do it. Is it ideal? No. Was he going to really have to do that if we have everybody else? I don't think so, because you can play OG at the 5. There are other things you can do. Personally, I don't want to see Sims on the court. I know he's got some fans, but I'm not one of them particularly. But who knows? Maybe he got better, and maybe the coaching staff seems to like him, so they probably know something I don't.
Right. Anybody else want to comment on that? And I'll say, Geoff, we didn't think Bridges was possible. We didn't think OG was possible. I hear you. Utah would be the toughest one. I don't know. Brooklyn might have been the toughest one. But yeah,
I don't like
anything is
Danny
possible.
Ainge, and I don't trust Danny Ainge. Didn't like him as a player in the rivalries against the Knicks.
Amen.
Haven't liked him as an executive. Well, let me say that I admire what he's been able to do as an executive in terms of getting, the most out of his deals. But I think the Knicks are partly to blame, though, the way they pulled up to Utah to that playoff series. I guess that'll be 2 seasons ago now. So, combined with Ainge being, the POS that he is already, plus doing that, as bad as the situation was with the Raptors, this thing with Danny Ainge might just be worse in terms of being able to get a deal done. And it's going to be, I'm going to need 2 firsts and 2 seconds for Kessler and Deuce. He'll make it ridiculous and almost like it's something that can't happen. So,
But what
I'm not
about
gonna,
the idea? I
but
get what you're saying in
if
terms of compensation, but
if Ainge was playing ball and Deuce had to go, considering Brunson's durability, considering Cam Payne's ability, and also considering what I believe is a bright future for Kolek, I feel very confident at the point guard spot, and I feel like Deuce is more of a shooting guard anyway. So I have no trepidations in Deuce being included in the deal for Kessler or for Duren, for that matter.
okay, all right.
Like I said, me personally, sorry guys, I don't get attached to players. The only player I ever was attached to was Bernard King, and he's still the greatest nigga of all time for me personally, my personal favorite.
Right.
So, but other than that, listen, when it's your time to go.
All right. Ajay, just your thoughts, even if not for Kessler, just how do you feel if the Knicks had to include McBride in the trade for a backup?
Well, no, I mean,
center?
it has to be for Kessler. But for Kessler, listen, I like Deuce, would like to see him stay with the team, but Kessler would make the team better because, like we mentioned here, we have plenty of guards and plenty in the backcourt, and we just don't have enough up front. Okay, so we need bigs. And we can't, obviously we can't, we know Mitch, he's been here since he's been in the NBA, so we know we can't rely on him. So we would need another big, if in case he goes down, when he goes down, and even just as another big, as a backup, we need somebody to replace Isaiah Hartenstein. So if we could find somebody to replace Isaiah Hartenstein, we should go and grab it. We have plenty of guys in the backcourt, so that would improve the team, I think. Personally, I would like to see Deuce stay because of his persistence, his effort, and his development. You see that it's somebody who's his determination. So you could bank on that. If he stays like this, if he stays on his path, he's gonna be like a really, really good player at some point.
So, if I may ask a question, Steph, to Ajay,
Absolutely.
Sure.
Would you rather bring Precious Achiuwa back on a team friendly contract and have him as your backup center, or would you rather include Deuce in the deal to get someone that may be considered better than Achiuwa, like a Kessler or Duren?
No, the Kessler, he would improve the team. So I think that would be best for the team. If we could bring somebody like Kessler, and what we do, we lose Deuce and don't sign Precious. Personally, I don't think so. Why I would like to sign Precious is because he could play the 4 and the 5. Okay, and he's obviously money wise, it's not too much penalty if we bring him in at whatever price, because we can, we have his birds right. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a good situation with him. And we've seen him play. Like, listen, he's undersized at the 5, but he's given us some good minutes at the 5 last season. So he could play, and I think you could switch him between 3, maybe not 3, 4, and 5, but 4 and 5 definitely could do that. So, God forbid Julius Randle go down with another, with an ankle sprain while we're playing Miami Heat. We're gonna have we need a backup for something. And I know a lot of people say OG Anunoby could play the 4. He can, but sometimes you need like another body to throw out there. And we've seen Precious do that. So
Bridges
it's not
can play the 4, and so can Josh Hart. I don't think we need a backup 4 at all. But just my personal opinion, I think when you can cycle those guys in, I think those 3 guys can man that position comfortably.
You think Bridges is a little thin though. You think he could play the 4?
I don't think he can.
No.
I don't think he can play the 4. Like if you're in a bind, if you switching, yeah, he could switch on a 4 and give you a few seconds, but he can't be you starting him at 4. I don't see that happening.
A stretch 4. Well, can he defend a 4? Because the 4s nowadays doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be down in the post, right? You could be a stretch 4. I think the question is, can he defend, power forwards? And I guess it depends on who the power forwards are. I just think he's so wiry. He just seems better suited to guard a 2 or a 3.
But you could do that at times though. I don't think he could be you going in the playoffs and say, Mikal Bridges my starting 4.
No.
I don't think you do that.
You're playing against a team like the Pacers, and it's the backup unit, and you got Obi Toppin at the 4, and you need somebody to stick him. You can put Bridges on him, but you're probably not starting him against most teams.
But
yeah, I'm okay if Precious doesn't come back. I'm with Geoff on that for different reasons, though. Go ahead, Geoff.
I mean, Josh Hart was the guy who was getting those 4s, and he's not the biggest guy in there, but he did a good job. I mean, in that role, he played 48 minutes every game from January on. It felt like so. To me, I'm comfortable with him in that spot. Like I think he can. His rebounding is right there. And you get to keep him on the floor. And I think minutes for Hart are hard to come by with Bridges, because I think I just think the minutes are tight. And so, I don't have a problem with Hart as a backup 4, especially when you're talking about Julius Randle as your primary 4. OG can play the 4 some. Hart can play the 4 some. To me, those 3 have it down. And like I said, I agree with you, Shuttle. I don't think he's a full-time 4 by any stretch of the imagination. But if you needed to do it for a few minutes a game, I think you could even get away with Bridges, because I think it creates other mismatches on the other end of the floor that you could take advantage of as well.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to Precious. I mean, if he comes back, he comes back. But I'm not high on Precious returning to the Knicks. If he can help us with a sign and trade, that would be great. For a center, that would be great. But yeah, and I see him as being situational as well. He would not be part of the rotation. As much as some of us may not like to see Josh Hart at the power forward position, I think Josh Hart is going to be backing up Julius Randle, and and also probably OG getting some of those minutes as well. Um, so I don't really. He would be situational, like you said, Ajay. If somebody was to get hurt, he can come in and give you minutes at the power forward position, and he's done that pretty well for us this past season. But yeah, yeah, I'm okay if Precious doesn't return. All right, let me get to some of this. Some of these, I think. Shaquan, we didn't even talk about Nick Richards. I don't. So what? When I was saying that, I didn't hear he was available. Shaquan, I hope I got that right. Richards got two guys ahead of him in the center position in Charlotte. Nick Richards is definitely available for the right package. Okay, all right. They're gonna have to do what they did when they went in for Bridges. They just went in guns blazing and just threw all the money and all their chips on the table and say, "Look, we want them." They wasn't thinking about selling, but when they saw all the capital that was placed on the table, they said, "You know what? Fine, fine." I'm not sure what else the Knicks have. Well, probably wouldn't take much. All right, Keith Turner, you lose Deuce and get something better. There are fans scared to lose players. Okay, all right. Jabroni _Z. Mo Cheeks was brought in for a reason, and the reason is Deuce. I think he will bring out another dimension to Deuce's game. Mhm. I also wonder if they knew Johnny Bryant was potentially on the way out and wanted to replace him, just in case.
I think
Louisiana Knicks.
that's a possibility.
Yeah. Yeah. Deuce is a two guard and a point guard body.
Yep.
All right. Simon Jalkamy. Or Jousamy. Knick fans confuse me. They want to re-sign Precious, refuse to let go of Deuce in any trade, but they all want to get rid of Randall. Okay.
That's funny.
Not on this panel, we don't.
Well, he said Knicks fans, right? So I don't think he's talking to us.
Yeah, well, certainly not present company, but it's a good point.
That is a good point. It's funny.
It is.
It's a good point. It's like, yo, you want to get better as a team. You want to get rid of your All NBA player, but you don't want to get rid. You don't want to get rid of a guy that has started a handful of games. It's wild.
Right. Yeah.
Knicks Nation, baby. That's what we do.
David Wickman, will to trade Deuce for willing, I guess, to trade Deuce for a quality backup center with starter potential. If not, get back Precious because Sims is a third string center. I'm not high on Sims either. And listen, I get it. Everyone has the potential to make a leap, and some people do make a leap late in their career. But I just feel like the improvement for Sims, he's been on the next 3 years, has been minimal over the 3 seasons. Can he make a leap? Yeah, I mean, he can. It's possible, but it's not something I would count on. I don't feel comfortable with Sims behind Mitchell Robinson. And I think it's also some defensive IQ, or some of it is skill, and some of it might be some IQ stuff as well, just in terms of being where he needs to be and things of that.
Queen.
That sort.
Queen.
Yeah, it looks like this is his first day on the team.
How do you
like almost all the time when he's out there?
How do you not mention going for the fake every time? Jericho Sims, he goes for the pump fake every single time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Listen, I don't know. Richards seems to be locked in there as a backup on that team. I mean, they just signed Taj Gibson. Maybe that means they're willing to part ways with
Richards.
Part ways with Richards. I don't know. looking at their lineup, they don't seem. Well, they did just sign Reggie Jackson, but he's 34. But they're not. They don't seem like they're overly loaded at with quality guards. I mean, they've got some guards, but
They signed Seth Curry too to a 1-year deal.
yeah, one
Just
one
saying.
year, $4 million. You know, but in terms of long term depth, Deuce could be a better addition to their team. I'm trying to get in their heads a little bit here.
Got you.
You know, just thinking, you know, if Richards could potentially be on the table. I don't really love Richards that much. He's a little lower on the totem pole of centers. You know, I'm hoping, you know, Kessler as the unreasonable, unlikely number one, and Duren as the more realistic good fit. I think that the Knicks really should be going for.
Is he on the outs in Detroit, Shuttle?
I don't know if he's on the outs, but you know, to Queen's point, I mean, listen, Bridges wasn't on the outs. You know, I'm just like, listen, we need a guy. Go get a guy.
Well, with Bridges, we had the chips to put on the table, but now
Yeah.
I don't know what we got.
Yeah, well,
I like Nick Richards though. I don't know, like Duren. You know, I mean, Nick Richards is older, but he hasn't had a ton of playing time either, right? You know, last season, you know, he played because Mark Williams was injured. But I like his height, I like his wingspan, I like him in the dunker spot. I like his rebounding and his shot blocking. Duren, yeah, he's coming along too. He's a little younger. Um, yeah, either one of them would work for me. I'm wondering if, and Jeff brought this up in the last show, if they're willing to move off of a young guy like that. What are they seeing or what are they not seeing? You know, is this a, you know, I don't watch him every day. You can compile a lot of counting stats and still don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean? So um, I'm not, you know, I'm not sure. But if they're willing to get off of him, you know, why? I would just want to know. And the same for Kessler too. You know, I heard that the coach wants to play a different style and wants to move away from, you know, rim running centers and wants someone with a little more skill. So do I, but
Are you
on the
coaching out there now, Queen?
no, I just felt like I just liked having Hartenstein and what he was able to do on the offensive end, and Nick Richards, Walker Kessler, they're not going to bring that, you know. But you know, as far as injury protection for Mitch and playing behind Mitch, I think both in Duren as well would be great for us.
Duren runs the floor extremely well. He has, you know, I wouldn't put him in the Hartenstein category just yet in terms of offensive IQ, but he did average 2.5 assists a game. So he knows how to give the ball up. He averaged over 3 offensive rebounds a game, and averaged 11.5 total rebounds a game, you know, and 13 points, and is not even playing 30 minutes. So, I mean, I know you're on a team that's not that great, but I mean, I've watched this guy. This guy hustles up and down the court. Like, I mean, I feel like between Mitch's weight gain, his injuries, I don't know what it is. He looks kind of laborious getting up and down the court. When he first got here, first couple of years, you know, he seemed to have a spring and a bounce and a level of athleticism that I felt like, okay, well, you know, he's not as skilled, but he's, you know, he jumps pretty decent. He runs the floor, but he doesn't have that same bounce running the floor the way he did the first 2, maybe 3 years. Duren still has that. You know, this guy's young and strong. We could use that.
Yeah, I mean, we listen. I'm not mad. I wanted the Knicks to draft Duren, so I'm not mad if they brought in Duren to play behind Mitchell Robinson. I'm not mad at all. I'm just saying Nick Richards is not a slouch from, you know, from, you know, what I've seen, but I can't say that I've watched, you know, many of his games. All right. Anything else about this? I just want you guys' quick opinion on Kolek. I know prior to Campaign's arrival, there was thoughts about him possibly being in the rotation. I didn't think so. Um, but I think right now he gets to be a rookie and kind of learn and develop. So thoughts on Kolek and if you've watched him in the summer league, and what do you think his role is next season? Ajay, Geoff, and then DJ Shuttle.
Honestly, and knowing Thibodeau, I don't see him getting a lot of playing time. I see him. He's gonna, he's gonna be mostly in the G League, and they'll call him for a couple of games here and there, just like they did Deuce the first couple of years. Not that he's not good, like in they probably the first year. I mean, unless he shows tremendous development towards the end of the season, he might be able to get some playing time. And right now, the way we are right now, even if there are injuries, I don't see him getting much playing time. So,
Right.
not that he's not good. It's just that that's just how the system work over here. So,
Yeah, I love Kolek's game. His ability to find the open man and get him the ball right where they need to catch it is really good. To me, he's a guy. I think pay attention to his contract. They signed him to a 4-year deal for not a lot of money. His deal goes past where Deuces goes, so I think that you're not going to see very much of him this year, if any at all. Lots of G League time. Learn behind Brunson because he's a guy with terrific footwork himself. He can learn a lot from Jalen. He can use Jalen as a mentor. I'm not saying he's going to be Jalen Brunson. I'm not saying that, but I think 2-3 years from now, I think you'll have a really decent backup floor general in Kolek if you put the work into him and be patient with him. And I don't think he's ready to contribute right away, but he doesn't have to be. I think he keeps his head up on his dribble so well, and that's an underrated skill. I just love his passing, the way that he sees the court, and I just he really has some talent, and he's got to shoot the ball well. That's the other part of that, but I think that's in his game too. I don't see anything that says he won't be a plus shooter as well. So I'm really high on him as a prospect, just not this year. I think he's a guy that you need to. He's the guy who needs the seasoning. You got to just let him just marinate. Let him marinate, and then he'll be ready to cook in a year or two.
Yeah, he didn't shoot that well today in summer league. I think he missed all 5 of his 3-pointers, but I'm with you, Geoff, 100%. This guy is good. I love watching him play. I love his decision making, his vision, his ability to get guys. He hit Toppin on the other side of like a skip pass, like through the lane to the yeah. He's going to be really good. I just don't think it's going to be this year unless things go south. DJ Shuttle, I know you were high on Kolek in the draft, coming into the draft.
Yeah, he was on my draft board for the Knicks to get him. So I'm glad they listened to me, as they should continue, to do. But yeah, you got your vet, in campaign now. If no other deal gets done, you got your de facto point guard backup in Deuce. And Deuce and Three Vincenzo will already have some chemistry and yada yada. So that could be your backup, guard lineup. And things will shake where they will from there. Listen, if Kolek is the bottom of the bench and he's getting donuts and passing towels, that's a great place to start on a team that has championship aspirations. Right. And just do like Deuce did his first year and second year. stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And if and when your number's called, show and prove that that if and when you need to be locked in for extended time and minutes, that you'll be set and ready to deliver. But out the gate with the roster as is currently constructed, I wouldn't expect him to get many minutes. And even if a deal got done for Deuce, yeah, I still think even if he got minutes, they'd be very minimal and very, very situational.
Yeah, for sure. I want to. Okay. We only got like 5 minutes. Um, thoughts on Hukporti just briefly. We're talking backup center here. I know there's some in the fan base who, and even some in the chat who are really high on him, and see him, some even this season, getting minutes, thinking that he might be better, think he may be better than Sim, and some down the line. I personally don't see it. Um, you know, um, I'll just put it this way: I need to see more. That's the best I can put it. But just quick thoughts on Hukporti in the summer league as a prospect this season down the line. DJ Shuttle.
I'd say he spends 80 to 90% of his time in the G League this year. I like his hustle. I like his grit. I like his toughness. I love his energy, and think that he could replace Sims as a third string center, hopefully by next season.
This season coming up or the next one after?
Next season.
Okay.
Jack?
Ajay.
No, yeah, I was gonna say real quick. I agree with Shuttle. I don't see him getting a lot of playing time. He's gonna be in the G League, and even if he shows a lot of improvement, I don't. If Jericho Sims on the team, I think Tom Thibodeau will, as crazy as it sounds, would probably go with Jericho Sims if there's a necessity, rather than go with Hukporti. That's just how he is, Tom Thibodeau. The guys he trusts. He's been Jericho Sims still on the team because Tibbs has some level of trust, or some he likes him or something. He likes his work ethic or something. And he's gonna trust his instinct to go with that. Especially at the 5 position, because he really values protecting the rim. Not that Jericho Sims protects the rim, but I don't know if he's gonna put a rookie in there in minutes that count. I just don't see that.
No.
It's so tough to play the 5 spot. Learning how to not foul it usually takes a year or two to do that. It's not, especially you got a raw prospect. It's just a tough position to learn, and quarterbacking a defense and all the responsibilities that are put on a 5. I can't see putting even a really good rookie prospect in that role for the Knicks right now, just with our aspirations, much less a guy who was Mr. Irrelevant. I agree with Shuttle, though. I think Shuttle's on point. I think he's another guy. You just got to let him marinate. You got to let him cook and see what he has. And in the G League, let him develop. And then, maybe a year or two down the line, he's ready to go and ready to contribute. But I don't think you're going to see anything out of. I don't think you should ever expect production out of a guy who was picked in the 50s. I mean, I just, is it possible? Yes, but for this team we're struggling to find minutes for Deuce McBride right now. I mean, and I know we're thin at the 5 spot, but I would rather see our 4s play the 5 than to give this kid a chance, just because I know what to expect out of him.
Yeah.
Sheesh. Jeff, I will have to say, I will just fire it back at you and just say, I don't care where you were picked at. Once you're selected and you're on the team, if you're a free agent acquisition and you didn't get drafted and you're John Starks, you were packing groceries. I don't care where you came from, how you got here. Once you're on the team, then we're evaluating your potential. But I will say this, I'm on the record, and I want to be on the record here as well. Do I think that he could in 3 years become 8 points and 8 rebounds and 1.5 blocks per game? Sure. I mean, we're not getting a whole lot more than that right now at center. So, I don't think we're talking about, Lou Alcindor or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
I would say, and I've said this before when we were on Tony's show. Shout out to Tony Crow, Knicks and Bruises. 8 points, 8 rebounds can look different. Doesn't always look the same. And you guys know how I feel about Mitchell Robinson on the offensive end. But on the defensive end, his 8 points and 8 rebounds hit different than a Sims 8 points, 8 rebounds, so to speak. I think his pick and roll defense. You guys know the pick and roll defense, the rim protection, the the offensive rebounds. I mean, he's elite in those categories. Now, does it make up for the offensive end? In my opinion, it does not. But I know for a lot of, I think the Knicks can mitigate that. Like I've calmed down a little bit. Like I was like super stressed, at the beginning of, this when we lost iHeart. I'm like, oh, our offense is gonna go to shit. But we have the option to go small ball. When teams want to take Mitchell Robinson's guy and double Brunson or just stand in the paint or whatever he's going to do, we have the option if Tibbs uses it to go small ball. And then they won't be able to do that now. That really hurts our rim protection, other things like that. But listen, they have to figure it out because it's coming, particularly in the playoffs. It's going to come. And so the Knicks have to figure that out. Any last words? I do want to. All right, I want to try to stay. Yeah, I'll leave it. There was something on Empire Sports Media about the Knicks potentially going after Westbrook. I'm like, we got minute issues as it is, and I just don't see Westbrook being comfortable just playing behind Brunson and that's it. I don't see him being comfortable with that situation. But any last words or anything you guys want to follow up on before we get out of here?
I got a question actually. Do you think the Knicks going after Cam Payne has anything to do with him being teammates with
Bridges?
Bridges with Mikal Bridges back in Phoenix? You think that factored in there? Maybe Mikal Bridges like vouch for him, say go get that guy, or
possible,
or it was just a money thing. Like he came cheap and he's a vet, and they just like, man, come on.
I think him smoking the Knicks in the playoffs had more to do with it. Did you miss those games, Edge?
I saw the games, and that's why I was saying I don't know why Coach Nick Nurse didn't give him more minutes, but he was giving us problems. Yeah, he's giving a lot of problems. Queen, Tyus Jones he's still out there. He hasn't been signed yet.
You're not advocating us going for him, are you?
I used to be, but I used to, but he would cost too much money. Like he's not making $3 million. That guy, he's getting more money than that.
And he's a borderline starting. He's a borderline starting point guard, and I don't think there's enough money behind enough minutes behind Brunson for someone like Tyus Jones.
Agreed.
Yeah, he was my number one target for off season, but that's done.
Yeah,
well, he's still out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we focus on the center?
Well, I mean, the center spot, we already know what it is, man. Like, and that's Shuttle. I don't know if you listened in the beginning. I don't know what we're doing with Precious, and I think that'll determine which direction we go at the center spot. So I mean, I don't want to rehash that, but I
I
feel
don't
like we
think
still,
so, Ajay. I don't think Precious has anything to do with what the Knicks do, unless they're using him in a sign and trade.
which means he has something to do with it because they haven't
Oh,
signed him. Maybe there's a sign and trade coming. I don't know. Like I think
okay,
I think it's all related. I think it's all
okay.
you know.
I mean, if that's what you mean, then yeah, um, yeah, because it is curious that he hasn't signed yet.
Yeah.
with anybody, not
With
just
any
not
that's
with
yeah,
us,
Yeah, that's
with
what I
exactly.
anybody.
mean. That's what I
Exactly.
mean with anybody.
With anybody.
Salute, coach. We need Mitch insurance no matter what. Listen, listen,
Amen.
listen. You cannot go into the season without a contingency plan. Um, and this is the thing, and this is what makes it difficult. You can't just have a backup. You got to have somebody that you feel comfortable can step in and start if needed.
That part.
Somebody who can carry 30 minutes a game if you need them to.
Someone that can start 30 games if you need them to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not play 30 minutes. Play 30, start 30 games.
if you need to.
I think one goes hand in hand with the other, though, don't you? Like
Yeah, if you're playing 30
if you're,
minutes,
in
you're
other words, if
probably
you're getting a
starting.
guy who can play 30 minutes, 30 quality minutes, that's a starter, right? I
I
mean,
I,
it's just like you're
I,
saying the same thing.
I feel your point, but Precious Achiuwa could come in and play 30 minutes backing up if you needed him to. But I don't know if I want him to start for 30 games. I want a guy that I can look at and be like, all right, Duren, Kessler, these guys have started, enough games where I feel like, all right, if they need to be the starter, I'm comfortable. I'm not
I see
comfortable.
what you're saying.
I'm not comfortable with Precious being the starter just because he can play 30 minutes and he's played 40 minutes before.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Knicks, no. I mean, you could just see how this front office is moving with the campaign. Like they're thinking ahead in terms of what the Knicks need to make this run to unseat Boston, to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. Um, they have a plan. And if it doesn't work, I would think it's not because they didn't try. Like they're very astute. They know what's needed.
That's what MC Light said. If it doesn't work out, it just doesn't. It wasn't meant to be. It just wasn't.
I love it. I love it.
Steph, you know those bars, right?
Coach,
Steph, you know
where
those
you
bars.
been?
I do. That's my stuff right there. That's what I grew up on. So yeah.
What's that? Paper thin, right? Paper thin.
Yeah.
Light is MC Lizite.
Yeah. Coach, this is what I've been saying. This is exactly what I have been saying. We don't need to double and triple and quadruple down on the defense. Our defense is going to be fine. And um, obviously Kessler is a rim protector. Um, so is Nick Richards. Oh, he can block shots. I don't know if he's a rim protector, but he can block shots. But I would love a center that can pass the ball around. I mean, I'm not even asking for a lot. I'm just asking for that they can swing the ball to the next person and it doesn't stop while they give it back to the person who gave it to them.
I mean,
Um,
you just got spoiled with iHeart, man. He spoiled you. Look at that.
I think I did. I think I did. I still think the Knicks are going to be, fine. I still think we're a championship contending team. But that offense, man, had the potential, and the defense. We on both ends of the court, there was I'm not gonna say no weaknesses, but it
Very
was pretty
few.
close. It was pretty close. Yeah, it was pretty close. Um, all right. Do I want okay, this is the last one. If we can see the thing about Sengun is you got to send out Randall. I don't really see how Sengun and Randall can play together. Like they're similar players in terms of scoring, rebounding, and playmaking. Um, Obviously, Randall is better. He's been in the league, or he's
More
been through.
experience.
But Sengun, he ain't no slouch. Trust me. He's he's on his way. But I don't see Sengun and Randall being and money wise, you would have to send out um, somebody. No, he's still on his rookie contract.
Sengun's on his rookie deal. It's only making like $5 million.
He's on his rookie deal, but you
Why
still
would
got
they?
to pay him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You
we'd
still
have to
have to
pay
pay
him.
him. We'd have to pay him. But you're right.
That's one of the
What do you guys
reasons
think
why
about
they
him?
like in the market. I love Sengun. He's a terrific player.
I mean, I love him so much. I can't imagine the idea that he'd even be available.
I agree.
Like, forget about sending out Randall. Like, you'd have to be sending them Mitch so that they had a replacement for Sengun. But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I see the Houston Rockets potentially having a quantum leap similar, close to what I'm not saying they'll be a number 1 seed, but if they're a number 4 or number 5 seed, I'm not surprised. I mean, they've got a solid roster, and that guy's a part of the roster that's very solid. And I mean, I don't know. I can't see the need or the thought why they would be considering to trade this guy.
They got
And
a
even
lot
if
of
they were, what would we have that they would want? That would be the
right.
thing.
Yeah.
Nothing
Like,
that
yeah, they might be
the
willing
Knicks
to
would
trade him, but I don't think they want to trade him for anything we would be willing to give up.
Right. Great point.
Exactly. And they've got Steve Adams as a backup center, but they're probably not looking at starting him. Like
He's in Houston now.
yeah.
But he's hurt all the time, like Mitch. I mean, he doesn't play much.
Which is why he's no more than a backup. Yeah, so
Okay.
they've got him as the backup center, and Jabari as a third string backup center. They've got a roster, man. Van Vliet, Green, Brooks, Jabari, Sengun. They've got a decent roster. Like, why would they trade Sengun?
I heard reports that they're looking to move him. I think they want a veteran. I'm not sure all of the reasons, but they're gonna have to pay him. They got to pay Green. Um, you got to make sure you maxing out guys that you feel like they're the bedrock of your
I think it's an
your
Emmanuel
franchise.
Quickly type situation, Shuttle. They like him, but they don't want to pay him. They don't want to pay a 5 that much money. Like we didn't want to pay Quickly more than we were paying Brunson to keep him. So we found a place to send Quickly that was good for him and bring back an asset that was good for us. I think that it's one of those situations.
And that's what I'm saying. It wouldn't be Randall that would have to go. It'd have to be a center, maybe in the pay bracket that they would be looking for, like
Right.
Mitch. And then I wouldn't
don't
feel
like a Sengun Randall fit though.
no, Sengun doesn't stretch the floor enough for you.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, they just seem like similar players.
I mean, he shot 30% from 3.
So they are similar players. That's about Julius Randle's.
Oh god.
He shot 30% from 3 last year. He had 111 attempts.
Wow.
And in his rookie year, he had 117 3-point attempts, and he shot 25%. And he's basically a 70% from the foul line shooter. Last year, he averaged 3 offensive boards per game, and the year before, 3.2 offensive boards per game, 9.3 and 9.0 respectively. Last year, 21 points, 9.3 boards, 5 assists per game. So he's used to dishing and swishing. My man Clyde, he's used to dishing and swishing. So yeah, I don't think I see as much of a conflict with him and Randall. together.
Mhm.
I'm not saying it's a perfect fit per se, but you know,
Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, right?
hey, listen, you could talk me into sending Mitch to them for Sengun and whatever else it takes. You could definitely talk me into that. Quick,
right.
fast, in a hurry.
All right. Any last words?
Not basketball related stuff, but I got the DJ Shuttle Blend Alert R&B blend tape coming out next week.
Okay.
Nice.
All I gotta say is it's fire upon fire upon fire.
And where can we find it?
Well, you can always get a DJ Shuttle custom flash drive and order that. I'm working on a private digital download link as well. So I've got my custom DJ Shuttle flash drives, and I got some mixes that I pre-made, 80s hip hop, house, barbecue joints, club party records, and they're all 90-minute mixes, clean edits. You can put them on family functions, things like that. No talking on them. And so yeah, you can get the DJ Shuttle party pack, along with the blends. $40 gets you a whole 6-pack.
Okay.
You don't step him. Shuttle.
Now, you will get some DJ Shuttle drops on there, but you won't get me talking on there.
Okay.
Now we gotta get the name and the branding. You gotta get that.
You gotta get it out there.
But yeah, so you'll get that periodically throughout the mixes, but you won't be, yo, my next party, yo, shout to the villain. You're not gonna get me doing that kind of talking on there.
You got to listen to him Fridays on 108 Soul to get a shout out.
There you go. When you catch the live mix, if I know you tapped into the mix, you get a shout out while we're doing it live.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. But is there a website to get the flash drives?
Not yet. I am still
Okay.
working on that. So
Okay.
so hopefully I'll have that all finalized next week.
Okay, cool. All right. Any last words, Geoff, Ajay?
Thanks for having us on, and maybe we'll win a summer league game before it's over.
Today's Tuesday. Are we dinking it Thursday?
Yeah, we going Thursday. I was trying to do just one quick hour on just a limited topic, and look, an hour 22 minutes. It's y'all fault.
I'll take responsibility, Kev. It's on me.
Yeah, shout out to the chat. Hit the like button. I didn't check the likes today, man. I hope you guys are keeping up with them.
Yeah.
And Thursday 9:00, just snicking it right here on the Dope Soul Sports Talk.
Yeah.
So
appreciate you guys, DJ Shuttle, Geoff, Ajay. There's no channel without the panel, so I appreciate you guys. We'll be back Thursday with the weekly show. Until next time.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Sister, it's time you
That's
shine. Dope Soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Dope Soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Dope Soul.
What?
Dope Soul.
What?